They sent an infertile alien princess to a human as a cruel joke, but she returned pregnant with his. The stars stretched endlessly across the sky, bright and silent, and the only sounds were the hum of his small workshop and the occasional chatter from the distant control center. Most people in the colony had gone to sleep hours ago, leaving Ethan alone with his machines. He liked it that way. It gave him space to think and work without anyone telling him what to do. He was checking a broken power regulator for one of the colony's communication arrays when the radar pinged suddenly. At first, he thought it was a glitch. The system had been acting up lately, but the blinking red light on the console told him otherwise. Something was out there, something large. His heart beat faster as he zoomed in on the screen. A ship had appeared in the colony's orbit. Its design was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was smooth, silver, and almost alive in the way it reflected light. Ethan froze for a moment, unsure what to do. Ships didn't just appear out of nowhere in this sector. This part of space was far from major travel routes. Whoever was approaching was either lost or looking for trouble. He picked up the radio and tried to contact the ship. "This is Corin Colony, Identification Miller. Please identify yourself," he said, keeping his voice steady even though his hands were shaking slightly. There was no response. Not a crackle, not a signal, nothing. Ethan frowned. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the hangar bay. The landing platform was empty, but the ship was already descending. It hovered above the bay, silent, as if it had been waiting for him. The lights inside the hangar reflected off its hull, making it glow like it was breathing. Ethan's instincts told him to stay back, but curiosity pushed him forward. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. A ramp extended slowly to the floor, and a figure stepped out. Ethan blinked. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin had a faint silver shimmer, and her eyes were large and violet, glowing softly in the dim hangar lights. She moved with grace, almost like she was floating. Her uniform was simple yet elegant, with patterns that looked like they belonged to a royal court rather than a spaceship. Ethan swallowed hard. I'm Ethan. Welcome to the colony," he said, his voice small compared to the presence before him. The alien woman looked at him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke in a soft, musical voice. "I am Leela. I need help." Her words were simple, but they carried weight. Ethan's mind raced. Help from who? And why did she choose this colony so small and far away? He nodded and stepped closer. "Of course, we can help you. Do you want to come inside?" Leela nodded slightly. She walked down the ramp, and Ethan noticed the way she moved. Her steps were careful, almost cautious, as if she was unaccustomed to walking on solid ground. He opened the hangar doors, and she followed him into the main building. Inside, the colony looked normal to her, though she kept her eyes wide, taking in every detail. Ethan led her to a small guest room, offering her food and water. She declined politely, explaining that she had eaten in her ship. Ethan watched her closely, trying to understand her. There was a sadness in her eyes, but also a strange determination. She seemed fragile, yet something about her radiated strength. Over the next few hours, Ethan tried to learn more about Leela. She was from a distant system, one that had almost no contact with humans. Her people had long believed that humans were primitive, weak, and insignificant. But why she had come alone, why she looked vulnerable, he did not know. Leela answered some questions but avoided others. She did not speak of her family or her planet, and she did not mention why her people had sent her. Ethan realized quickly that she was hiding something. Her body was small and delicate, but he noticed the way her eyes never left him when she spoke, as if measuring his every word. She was intelligent, far beyond anything he had met, and he felt a mix of fear and admiration. The night passed slowly. Ethan stayed in the room nearby, fixing a small generator while Leela rested on a soft cot. He wanted to ask more questions, but he knew better than to push. People, especially aliens, needed trust before they spoke. He thought about the radar signal again. The ship had appeared out of nowhere. How had she come so far alone? And why choose this colony of humans when her people looked down on humans as inferior? By morning, Leela was ready to leave her room. Ethan brought her a tray of food and sat nearby while she ate quietly. He had questions swirling in his mind. He wanted to know about her ship, about her technology, about why she had risked coming here. But he started with something simpler. "Do you trust humans?" he asked gently. Leela paused. She looked at him with her glowing violet eyes, and for a long moment there was silence. Finally, she said, "I do now." Her answer was simple, but it struck Ethan deeply. She had been sent as a joke, a cruel test by her people, and yet here she was, looking at him with trust. That trust was fragile but real. He felt a sense of responsibility settle on his shoulders. If anything went wrong, if her people came looking, he had to protect her. The day passed with more cautious exploration. Leela wandered through the colony, taking note of the farms, the workshops, and the small classrooms where children learned about the stars. The humans greeted her politely but kept their distance. They were curious, but wary. Few had ever met an alien, and fewer still had met one of royal status. Ethan stayed close, guiding her and explaining simple details, from the colony's energy grid to the recycling system that kept life possible on this small world. They spoke less about her origin and more about her experiences. Leela was fascinated by the humans' resilience. She asked questions about how they built their homes, how they survived storms, and how they solved problems without advanced technology. Ethan answered honestly, showing her schematics and simple blueprints. Leela listened intently, clearly impressed by the ingenuity of humans. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with orange and purple streaks, Ethan realized how tired he was. He suggested that Leela rest while he checked the ship systems. She agreed, but before she went, she said something that made Ethan pause. "You are different from what I expected," she said softly. "Your people, they have strength, even if you do not always see it." Ethan smiled faintly, unsure if it was a compliment or a warning. "We do our best," he replied. Leela gave a small nod and walked back to her room. Ethan stayed in the hangar, staring at the ship. It had come from the stars, alone and silent, carrying a mystery he could not yet understand. He knew her people had planned something cruel, something that might hurt her. But he also knew that she had chosen him, chosen this colony. Somehow that made him feel both worried and honored. As night fell, Ethan worked quietly on the ship's interface. Leela had left the doors open slightly, and the soft hum of her craft mixed with the quiet of the colony. He studied the controls, trying to understand her technology. Even simple things were far beyond what humans had developed. Yet, despite all the differences, Leela had needed him, and he had helped her. The bond between them was beginning, though neither fully understood it yet. There was trust, curiosity, and something fragile like hope. Ethan did not know what the future held, only that he would not abandon her. Whatever joke her people had planned, whatever tests they had set, he would stand by her side. By midnight, the hangar was empty. Ethan finally sat back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. The stars outside the window seemed brighter than usual. Somewhere out there in the endless galaxy was the rest of Leela's people. They had sent her here as a cruel experiment, but they did not know what had already begun. A quiet determination settled in Ethan's heart. He would learn her story, he would protect her, and he would show her people in their own way the strength of humanity. Outside, the ship's lights glowed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Inside, Leela rested, unaware that the first threads of a bond stronger than any challenge had already formed. Ethan did not know it yet, but their meeting tonight would change everything. His life, her life, and the fate of both their worlds. The next morning, Ethan woke early, as he usually did, and made his way to the hangar. The sun's first light spilled over the colony, casting long shadows across the metal walkways. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the faint smell of the recycled gardens that surrounded the living quarters. He found Leela already awake, standing near the window of her room, staring at the horizon. She looked peaceful, almost human in that moment, but there was a quiet tension in her posture. "Good morning," Ethan said softly, stepping into the room. Leela turned her head slowly and smiled faintly. "Good morning. I sleep well," she said. Her voice was soft, melodic, almost musical, but still strange to human ears. "I'm glad," Ethan replied. He set a tray of breakfast on the small table by the window, fresh bread, a little fruit, and some rehydrated coffee. Leela's eyes flicked toward it and she tilted her head. "You eat this?" she asked, pointing to the bread. "Yes," Ethan said simply. "It's simple, but it's good." He watched her carefully. She had been here only one day, yet she moved through the room as if she belonged. She touched the bread lightly, then nodded. "Simple food, it is pleasant," she said. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Ethan noticed that Leela seemed curious about everything. The way the sunlight moved across the floor, the faint hum of the building's energy grid, the way the wind carried small dust particles through the air. She did not speak much, but she observed everything closely. After breakfast, Ethan suggested a walk outside. The colony had a small courtyard with gardens, benches, and a pond. Most of the human workers were already at their tasks, and the colony felt alive in a quiet, steady way. Leela followed him, moving gracefully across the pathways. "You humans live simply," Leela said, glancing at the small vegetable plots and water recycling units. "Yet you survive, you endure," Ethan smiled. "We do what we can, we have to. Life isn't always easy, but we make it work." Leela nodded slowly. "I did not know. My people, they think of humans as weak, unworthy, but you are different." Ethan felt a flicker of pride mixed with curiosity. "Different? How?" "You care, you fight, not with weapons but with your hearts. You protect each other. You value life." Leela paused, as if weighing her words carefully. "It is impressive." Ethan looked at her. He had not expected such honesty so soon. "Thank you," he said. "I guess we are not perfect, but we try." They walked in silence for a while, the sound of the wind and the distant hum of machines filling the quiet. Ethan wanted to ask more about her people, about why she was here, but he sensed she was not ready to speak of it. Instead, he spoke about small things, the gardens, the work of the colony, how humans repaired old machines with limited tools. Leela listened attentively, occasionally asking questions, always careful not to reveal too much of herself. Later in the day, Ethan took Leela to his workshop. It was a small, cluttered room filled with tools, parts, and half-finished machines. He liked working there. It felt safe, like a place where he could fix problems and make the world a little better. "This is where I spend most of my time," he said, motioning to the benches and shelves. "I fix machines, try to improve what we have. Nothing fancy, but it works." Leela's violet eyes scanned the room. She walked slowly between the benches, touching a few tools lightly. "Your machine's simple yet effective," she said. "They remind me of home in a strange way." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You have machines at home like these?" "Not like yours," she said softly. "Different, but humans clever." For the next few hours, Ethan and Leela worked together. He showed her how to repair a small power converter. She watched carefully, her hands moving delicately, almost as if she were afraid of breaking it. But she learned quickly, adapting her movements to the human tools. Ethan was impressed. Her people were supposed to be fragile, almost useless according to the stories he had heard. But Leela handled the work with skill and patience. "You are stronger than I thought," Ethan said quietly as he tightened the last screw. Leela looked up at him, her eyes meeting his. "And you, stronger than your people give you credit for," she replied. Her words made him pause. He had spent his life believing humans were not much in the galaxy. Most other species looked down on them, treated them as insignificant. Yet here was an alien princess, sent as a cruel joke, acknowledging human strength. He did not know whether to feel proud or wary. As the day wore on, they continued their work. Ethan showed her small experiments with energy cells and communications arrays. Leela asked questions, not out of curiosity alone, but with a genuine desire to understand. Ethan began to feel a connection forming. It was strange, unexpected, but undeniable. He realized that despite her royal status and alien origin, she was learning from him, relying on him, and trusting him. When the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Ethan suggested a break. They walked to the small pond in the courtyard. The water reflected the sky like glass. Leela knelt by the edge, dipping her fingers lightly into the cool water. "Earth water or human water," she murmured. "Strange, comforting." Ethan sat beside her. "It's ordinary," he said, "but I like it too. There's something peaceful about it." Leela looked at him and smiled faintly. "You, humans, have small joys, yet you appreciate them. My people, we rarely notice such things. We are too busy expecting perfection." Ethan nodded. "Maybe that's why we survive. We keep going even when things are hard. We notice small things, we help each other." Leela's eyes softened. "I understand." She hesitated, then said quietly, "I trust you, Ethan. Not many can earn this, not many humans or aliens." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Trust. It was a fragile thing, yet it had grown quickly between them. He did not know why, only that he wanted to honor it, protect it, and keep it safe. That night, after the colony had gone quiet again, Ethan returned to the workshop. He could not stop thinking about Leela. Her presence had changed something in him. She was more than an alien visitor. She was intelligent, strong, and brave, and she had trusted him. Suddenly, a quiet alarm sounded from the ship outside. Ethan grabbed his tools and ran to the hangar. Leela was standing beside her craft, her hands pressed lightly against the controls. The lights on the ship blinked urgently. "What is it?" Ethan asked, slightly alarmed. "It is nothing dangerous," she said. "Just a system check. My ship, it alerts me when energy readings change." Ethan studied the panels. He did not understand much of it, but he noticed the readings were stable. "You're sure?" he asked. "Yes," Leela replied. She smiled faintly, but there was tension in her eyes. "Do not worry, Ethan. I am safe." He nodded, though his heart still raced. He did not fully understand her technology, but he trusted her words. There was something in the way she spoke, calm, firm, honest, that made him believe her. They spent the rest of the evening together, watching the stars. Ethan showed her how humans mapped the sky, pointing out constellations that had guided travelers for centuries. Leela listened, fascinated, occasionally asking questions about human myths and stories. "You tell stories to remember, to teach," she said. "Humans, you find strength in memory." "Yes," Ethan said. "Stories help us survive. They remind us who we are, where we come from." Leela nodded thoughtfully. "I like your people. You are small, fragile, yet strong in ways my people do not see. Perhaps this is why I am here. Perhaps I am learning more than I expected." Ethan felt a mix of pride and worry. She did not know the full truth, that her people had sent her as a cruel joke, expecting failure. If she found out too soon, she might feel betrayed. He decided to protect her from that knowledge for now. The night grew quiet, and the stars above shone brightly. Ethan realized that something had begun, a bond, a connection, a small trust that could grow into something far greater. He did not know what the future held, only that he would be by Leela's side, guiding her, helping her, and learning from her in return. As he prepared to leave the hangar, Leela called softly, "Ethan, stay near. There is more to see, more to understand. I want to learn from you." He smiled and nodded, "I will." And so, under the endless stars, the human and the alien princess began their journey together, two beings from different worlds, learning from one another, forming a bond that neither fully understood yet, but that would change everything. The next morning, Ethan woke to the soft, hum of the colony's systems. Sunlight filtered through the small windows, illuminating his workshop. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, still thinking about Leela. She had become a quiet presence in his life, but one he could not ignore. He wondered what her people would say if they saw her here, learning, laughing, and trusting a human. Most likely, they would be furious. Ethan moved to the hangar where Leela was already awake. She was standing near her ship, examining the panels with careful hands. Her face was calm, but her violet eyes betrayed a mix of curiosity and something deeper, something he could not yet name. "Good morning," Ethan said softly. "Are you ready for today?" Leela turned and smiled faintly. "Yes, I want to learn more. Today you teach me about humans." "About your work, about your lives," Ethan nodded. "We can do that." He led her toward the workshop, though they stopped briefly at the courtyard to watch the sunrise. The light reflected off the small pond, making the water sparkle like tiny stars. "You enjoy these moments?" Leela asked, tilting her head. "Yes," Ethan said simply. "Simple things matter here. They remind us that life is worth living even in hard times." Leela watched the water, her expression thoughtful. "Your people have patience and hope." "I did not expect this." Ethan smiled faintly. "Most people don't notice it until they see it themselves." Inside the workshop, Ethan began to show Leela the colony's projects. He pointed out the power grid, explained how the communication arrays worked, and demonstrated small tools he had built to repair machines quickly. Leela listened closely, her hands occasionally hovering over the devices, as if she wanted to try but was careful not to touch. "You are clever," she said softly. "Even with simple tools, humans create much." Ethan shrugged. "We do what we have to, we don't give up, that's what matters." Leela nodded, absorbing every word. There was a quiet admiration in her eyes, but Ethan noticed something else, a subtle tension, a worry she did not speak aloud. He did not ask about it yet, sensing she would speak when ready. As the day progressed, they worked together on a small generator Ethan had been repairing. Leela's hands moved with grace, delicate but precise. She learned quickly, adapting her movements to the human tools. Ethan was amazed. She was supposed to be fragile, even infertile according to her people, yet she showed strength, intelligence, and patience. "You are stronger than I imagined," Ethan said quietly, tightening the final screw. Leela looked up at him. "And you are stronger than your people give themselves credit for," she replied softly. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Her words were not just praise, they were recognition, understanding. He realized that trust had grown between them, unspoken yet powerful. Later, Leela asked to see the living quarters of the colony. Ethan guided her through the small rooms, showing her the kitchens, sleeping areas, and communal spaces. Leela moved quietly, observing everything, asking questions about how humans survived and thrived in such a harsh, remote environment. "You live without much technology compared to my people," she said. "Yet, you endure, you thrive." Ethan nodded. "We make do with what we have." "That is enough." They stopped near the central garden, where a few workers tended small plants and vegetables. Leela knelt beside one of the flower beds, her fingers brushing gently over the petals. "Your people cherish life in many ways," she said. "Even small things have meaning." "Yes," Ethan said, "everything has value, every person, every moment, every choice." Leela looked at him, her eyes lingering. "You speak with wisdom. I did not expect it." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and unease. He liked her words, but he wondered if she knew the truth about why she had been sent here. His mind drifted to her people, cruelly planning a joke, expecting failure. He knew he had to protect her from that knowledge, at least for now. As evening approached, Leela requested a quiet place to rest. Ethan led her to a small guest room, and she settled on the bed, her hands folded neatly. Ethan stayed nearby, tidying the workshop and checking the ship's systems from inside the hangar. He could not shake a growing sense of anticipation, as if something important was about to happen, something that would change everything. That night, while the colony slept, Ethan noticed a subtle change in Leela. She moved differently, more cautiously, almost as if she were aware of something within her own body. At first, he did not think much of it. But when he checked the medical scanner in his workshop, a small device he used for colony health monitoring, he saw readings that confused him. "Leela," he called softly. She stepped into the room, curious. "I am here," she said, her voice calm. "I need to ask you a personal question," Ethan began, trying to choose his words carefully. "Have you ever had trouble with your body, health issues, fertility?" Leela's violet eyes widened slightly, a flicker of hesitation crossing her face. She looked away briefly, then met his gaze. "I was told I could not have children," she said softly. "It is a truth my people believe." Ethan's heart skipped. He did not know why, but something deep inside him stirred. He nodded slowly. "I see. Thank you for telling me." He wanted to speak more, but words failed him. The air between them grew quiet, charged with a tension neither fully understood. Leela turned away, pacing slowly across the room. I do not understand," she murmured. "This feeling strange in my body." "Something changes." Ethan stepped closer, careful not to alarm her. "What kind of change?" "I cannot explain," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It is as if life grows inside me, but it should not. It is impossible." Ethan froze. He thought carefully, his mind racing. She could not be wrong. Her people had always claimed infertility. Yet the readings from the scanner were clear. Something was developing within her, something impossible by her own species' standards. "Layla," he said gently, "it seems maybe your people were wrong. Maybe you are not infertile." Her eyes widened in shock, and a mix of fear and wonder crossed her face. "Impossible how?" she whispered. It cannot be. My people, they sent me to fail, to prove my weakness." Ethan reached out carefully, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes the truth is stronger than what others expect. Maybe this is not failure. Maybe this is strength." Leela looked at him, tears forming in her eyes. I do not know what to feel. Fear, hope, confusion all at once." "You are not alone," Ethan said firmly. "I will help you. We will figure this out together." For the first time since she had arrived, Leela let herself relax slightly. She leaned against him, trusting him in a way she had not trusted anyone before. The fear was still there, but now it shared space with hope. Over the next few days, Ethan monitored her closely. He showed her simple ways to rest, to eat, and to keep herself safe. Leela, in turn, shared her knowledge of her body and her species, helping him understand the changes she was experiencing. They spent hours in quiet conversation, learning from one another, growing closer with each passing moment. During this time, the bond between them deepened. Leela laughed softly at Ethan's clumsy attempts to explain human myths. Ethan marveled at her intelligence and grace, realizing that she had been underestimated by her own people. Together they discovered small joys, watching the sunrise, listening to the wind through the colony, and even experimenting with simple machinery. Yet beneath the calm, a sense of danger loomed. If her people discovered the truth, if they saw that their cruel joke had backfired, they might come for her. Ethan could only hope they would not arrive too soon. For now, their focus was survival, trust, and understanding. One night while they sat outside watching the stars, Leela spoke quietly. "Ethan, I think I feel something more. Not just life inside me, but connection. I trust you. I rely on you. I have never felt this before." Ethan reached out, taking her hand gently. "I feel the same, Leela. You are not just a visitor here. You are important to me and to this colony. Whatever happens, we face it together." Leela's eyes shimmered in the starlight. "Together," she repeated softly, as if tasting the word for the first time. For the first time, both of them understood something important. Trust and compassion could create strength greater than any weapon, any technology, any empire. Humanity's power was not in machines or armies. It was in the heart, the mind, and the ability to care for one another. As they sat quietly under the stars, the wind rustling softly through the colony, neither of them spoke for a long time. Words were not necessary. They had discovered something far more important, a bond built on trust, respect, and the beginnings of love. And somewhere deep inside, both of them knew that this bond, fragile though it was, could change everything. Not just their lives, but the lives of those around them, and perhaps even the galaxy itself. Days passed quickly in the small human colony. Ethan and Leela continued their work together, repairing machines, exploring the colony, and learning from one another. Leela's body was changing slowly, and each day brought a mix of wonder and uncertainty. Ethan watched her carefully, making sure she ate well, rested enough, and remained safe. He could see the growing strength within her, not just physically but in her spirit. One morning, Leela approached him in the hangar with a serious expression. "Ethan," she said softly, "I must return to my people soon. They will demand answers. I cannot hide forever." Ethan's heart sank. He had known this moment would come, but he had hoped it would be later. "Are you sure?" he asked. "You don't have to go if you don't want to." "I can help you stay here." Leela shook her head. "No, I must face them, but I do not know what will happen. They will be angry. They will want explanations. And I cannot explain everything. Not yet." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we prepare together. We make sure you are ready, and we face them carefully." The days leading up to their departure were filled with preparation. Ethan repaired the ship, ensuring it could handle the long journey, and helped Leela gather supplies. Leela shared more about her people, teaching Ethan simple customs and phrases that would help him communicate. They practiced together, laughing at mistakes and learning from each other. Despite the tension, a quiet closeness grew between them. They shared meals, talked under the stars, and sometimes just sat in silence, letting the comfort of each other's presence fill the space. Ethan realized he had come to depend on her, not just as a visitor or a friend, but as someone he cared deeply about. Leela, too, seemed to find solace in his calm, steady presence. Finally, the day came for them to leave. The colony workers watched silently as the silver ship lifted off the platform. Ethan and Leela were inside, the hum of the engines filling the cabin. Leela's hands rested lightly on the controls and Ethan sat beside her, monitoring the systems. As they left the colony's orbit and entered open space, Leela spoke softly. "I fear them, Ethan. My people, they will not understand. They sent me to fail, to prove weakness. And now I am not weak." "You are not weak," Ethan said firmly. "You are strong, stronger than anyone expects, and I will be here with you." Leela nodded, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, your people. You teach me trust, courage, hope. I will carry this with me." The journey to her home planet was long, but uneventful. Ethan marveled at the stars, at the vastness of space, and at the knowledge that he was traveling to meet the rulers of an alien empire. Leela remained calm, but he could sense the tension beneath her composed exterior. When they arrived, the planet was larger and more imposing than Ethan had imagined. Towers of metal and glass rose into the sky, and ships moved in precise formations across the atmosphere. It was clear that her people valued order, control, and power above all else. They were met by a small group of guards who escorted them to the palace. The building was massive, filled with cold light and sleek architecture. Ethan felt out of place, a simple human in a world of advanced technology and alien customs. But Leela held his hand lightly, a small gesture of reassurance. Inside the palace, they were brought before the Council of Elders. Leela's parents and a group of senior leaders regarded them silently. Ethan could feel their judgment, their disbelief, and their anger simmering beneath polite expressions. "You have returned," one of the elders said, voice sharp. "Why?" Leela stepped forward, her posture straight. "I have returned to answer your questions," she said clearly. "But I will speak only the truth." The council murmured among themselves, and Ethan watched as Leela continued. I have learned much from the humans. I have seen their strength, their courage, and their compassion. I have learned that they are not weak. And I have learned that I am not weak either. The eldest council member leaned forward. And yet you were sent here to fail, to return empty-handed. How do you explain this? Leela took a deep breath. I was not empty-handed. I have discovered life, a life I never expected. And I have learned that trust and courage are more powerful than fear or cruelty. The council was silent. Ethan could see the tension in their faces. They had underestimated humans, and now their daughter stood before them, strong, calm, and unafraid. One of the elders spoke again. And this child, you carry a human's child, Leela nodded slowly. Yes, and it is proof that strength and life can come from unexpected places, that even what you consider impossible can be real. The room was still for a long moment. Ethan felt his heart race. He did not know how they would react, but then Leela continued, her voice steady. I will not hide this child. I will protect it, and I will protect the human who helped me learn the truth. Together, we are stronger than fear, than cruelty, than doubt. The council murmured again, and Leela's parents exchanged glances. Ethan could sense their shock. They had sent their daughter as a joke, expecting humiliation, yet here she stood, proud and confident, carrying a life they deemed impossible. After a tense silence, one of the elders finally spoke. You have returned different than we expected. Perhaps we misjudged humans. Perhaps we misjudged our own daughter. Leela nodded, her expression calm. Perhaps, but I will not allow fear to dictate my life. I have learned to choose trust, to choose courage, and to choose life. The council seemed unsure how to respond. Ethan could feel their anger and disbelief, but also a growing respect. Leela had faced them without fear, without apology, and had spoken truths they could not ignore. Over the next days, Ethan and Leela navigated the complex customs of her people. They met with advisors, attended formal gatherings, and spoke with those who had once doubted her. Through it all, Leela remained calm, confident, and steadfast. Ethan was by her side, helping her, supporting her, and learning more about her people. During this time, Leela began to show more signs of her pregnancy. She moved carefully, ate with care, and rested often. Ethan remained vigilant, ensuring she was safe and comfortable. He noticed the small changes in her body and demeanor, and he felt a deep sense of protectiveness. Despite the challenges, they found moments of quiet joy. They walked through the palace gardens, watched alien sunsets, and shared stories of their lives. Ethan marveled at her courage, at her grace, and at the way she faced impossible odds without fear. Leela, in turn, seemed to grow stronger with each passing day, her trust in him deepening. One evening, while they sat in a quiet courtyard, Leela spoke softly. Ethan, I never imagined that returning would be like this. I feared anger, rejection, failure. But your people and my experiences here have taught me that strength comes from choice, not expectation. Ethan took her hand gently. You have shown them, and you've shown me. You are stronger than anyone imagined, and together we can face anything. Leela smiled faintly. Together, as they sat under the alien stars, Ethan realized how much they had both changed. Leela had grown stronger, braver, and wiser. Ethan had learned more about courage, trust, and compassion than he had ever known. And together, they had begun to reshape the expectations of two very different worlds. Somewhere deep inside, both of them understood that this was only the beginning. Leela's people had sent her as a joke, expecting failure, but instead she returned as proof of strength, courage, and the power of trust. And Ethan, a simple human from a remote colony, had become an essential part of that journey. The future was uncertain, and challenges remained, but for the first time they faced it together, with hope, trust, and the knowledge that strength could come from the most unexpected places. Weeks passed since Ethan and Leela had returned to her people. The alien empire was still adjusting to the unexpected truth. that their princess, sent as a cruel joke, carried a human child. Leela moved through her palace with calm authority, her confidence growing with each passing day. Ethan stayed close, helping her navigate unfamiliar rules, learning more about alien customs, and protecting her from scrutiny or danger. The Council of Elders was slowly changing too. They had begun to see humans differently, not as weak or primitive, but as resilient, clever, and capable of loyalty and compassion. The shift was small at first, a cautious respect in conversations, a careful acknowledgement of Ethan's presence. But it was growing. Leela had shown them that strength was not only physical or political, it could also be moral, emotional, and unexpected. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the horizon of the alien world, Leela woke early. She was restless, her body heavier, her steps slower. Ethan noticed immediately. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern in his voice. I feel the time is near," Leela said softly, her violet eyes shimmering. "The child will come soon, I must be ready." Ethan nodded. "I will stay with you, you are not alone. We will face this together." They prepared a quiet chamber within the palace. It was simple, comfortable, and private, far from the formalities and judgments of the council. Leela rested on soft cushions, while Ethan arranged medical supplies and tools that might help. He had little experience with childbirth, especially not of an alien-human hybrid, but he had learned enough from her explanations and his own quick study to be useful. The hours passed slowly. Leela's breathing became more deliberate, her movements cautious. Ethan stayed close, holding her hand, offering water and speaking words of reassurance. "You are strong," he said quietly. "You have faced impossible odds before. You will face this too, and I will be here." Leela nodded faintly. I trust you. You are my anchor, my courage. I do not fear because you are here." The first stage of labor began, and Ethan guided her through it. His voice remained calm, steady, helping her focus on each moment. He reminded her to breathe, to rest, and to stay calm. Leela responded, drawing strength from his presence. Together they moved through each stage, their bond growing stronger with every challenge. Outside the chamber, the palace remained quiet. The council had been asked to give Leela space, and even the guards kept their distance. The alien empire watched silently, unsure what would happen next. Yet even in their observation, there was a sense of anticipation, a dawning realization that this birth could change everything. As the hours passed, Leela's strength never wavered. She had learned resilience from the humans and bravery from herself. Ethan supported her every step, offering comfort and encouragement. "You are doing wonderfully," he said softly. "I am proud of you. You are more amazing than anyone could have imagined." Leela smiled faintly, exhaustion in her expression but determination in her eyes. "I am doing this for the child, for new life, and for us, for humans and my people. I will show them strength comes in many forms." Finally, after a long and difficult labor, the child arrived. Ethan held the newborn carefully, marveling at its tiny, perfect features. The child's skin had a faint shimmer, a subtle reminder of Leela's alien heritage, but the warmth and vitality were unmistakably human as well. Leela, exhausted but smiling, reached out to touch her child. It is real, we did it. Life is here, strong and bright." Ethan looked at the child and then at Leela. "We did it together," he said, "and you were amazing." The Council of Elders entered quietly, watching in awe. They had expected a failure, a humiliation, a sign of weakness. Instead, they saw a living proof of strength, courage, and trust. The alien princess had returned victorious, carrying a child that represented unity, hope, and the unexpected power of humanity. One elder stepped forward cautiously. "This is remarkable. The child, a symbol of life and of strength we underestimated." Leela nodded. "Yes. You sent me as a joke, expecting failure, but I have shown that courage, trust, and compassion are true strength, and humanity is far stronger than you believed." Ethan held the child gently, feeling a quiet pride and wonder. "Humans can be underestimated," he said softly. "But we endure, we adapt, and we protect those we care about. That is our power." The council looked at him with a mixture of respect and disbelief. The human, simple and unarmed, had not only survived among them but had become a partner, a protector, and a teacher. Leela's people had expected weakness, and instead they were confronted with resilience, wisdom, and courage. Over the following days, the palace and the empire adjusted to this new reality. Leela remained strong, caring for her child and herself with Ethan at her side. The council began to listen more carefully to her words, to consider humans differently, and to recognize the value of trust, courage, and moral strength. Ethan and Leela spent quiet moments together, watching the child grow, marveling at its tiny hands and curious eyes. They shared stories, lessons, and laughter, showing the child a world where humans and aliens could coexist, learn from each other, and thrive together. One evening, under the twin suns setting on the alien horizon, Leela held her child and spoke softly to Ethan. "We have done something impossible. We have shown that life, trust, and courage can overcome fear and cruelty." Ethan smiled, taking her hand gently. "Yes, and this is only the beginning. Together, we can build a future stronger than any empire imagined. A future where humans are respected, where our strength is known, and where life is valued above all else." Leela leaned against him, feeling the warmth of his presence. "Together," she repeated, her voice filled with quiet joy. In the weeks that followed, the empire continued to change. Leela's people slowly embraced the lesson she had brought, that humans were not weak, that trust and courage were powerful, and that even small, underestimated beings could achieve greatness. The council began to respect Ethan, not as a visitor but as a valued ally. Humans across the galaxy, still unknown to most alien worlds, began to earn recognition. News of the princess and her child spread quietly, showing other species that humanity was capable of bravery, intelligence, and compassion. The cruel joke had turned into proof of humanity's hidden power, a testament to endurance, wisdom, and moral strength. Ethan and Leela raised their child together, teaching lessons of trust, courage, and respect. They traveled to neighboring planets, sharing their story, showing how humans and aliens could work together. The child grew strong and curious, embodying the best of both species. One night as they watched the stars from the palace balcony, Leela spoke quietly. "I never imagined that coming here would lead to this. I feared anger, failure, and yet we created life, trust, and hope." Ethan smiled, holding her hand. "We did, and we will continue. Humanity has always endured, and now our strength is seen, not just in technology or war, but in heart, mind, and spirit. That is the true power." Leela rested her head against his shoulder. "And together, we will show them what it means to be strong, to be human, and to choose courage over fear." Under the endless stars, with their child sleeping safely beside them, Ethan and Leela knew they had changed not only their lives but the future of their worlds. The cruel joke of an empire had become a story of triumph. Humanity had shown its true strength, resilient, compassionate, and unstoppable when guided by trust, love, and courage. And in that quiet moment, the universe seemed a little brighter, a little more hopeful, as two different worlds came together to create a new legacy, one where life, strength, and humanity could never again be underestimated.